Nacon has started a revolution, meaning they're freakishly late to the party of having a premium or pro controller that's available wirelessly for the Xbox platform. I'm no new nincompoop when it comes to Nacon controllers. I reviewed my first one on the channel in April of 2020. You know what that was called? The Revolution Unlimited for PlayStation 4. 2 years later, in January, I reviewed the Nacon Revolution Unlimited Pro Professional, the successor to the previous. Then two of the rig offshoots from Nacon, as Nacon does also have headsets. Two of them are right over shoulder there that are called Rig. And they were kind enough to send out both of those new controller offerings, the Revolution X and a truly tiny version called the Pro Compact, which both sport Dolby Atmos on board. So you get a license for that virtual surround technology, and whenever you plug in a headset via that 3.5mm jack me off to the bottom, you are getting pretty much the Dolby Atmos experience. It's not a true one-to-one to having something like a surround sound system or headset. It has drivers that are acoustically tuned for Dolby Atmos, but at most, they both were good controllers. Then the review that a lot of y'all might have caught, because that sucker has 108,000 views and over 2,000 likes. Everyone's thumbs were going up on that video. That was the Nacon Rev Me Up Revolution 5 Pro controller for PS5. All of these controllers, other than the two Rig versions, shared a lot of the key features which are unique to Nacon's, and their button design is unique to them as they have their own shape and shell design. That's a long ass intro, but I did pack you full of info. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Squeeze a titty. A quick disclaimer to my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes. This controller was not sent for review. Nacon did offer several months back, but that was deep in the I don't review controllers anymore saga, which is still pretty much going on as you're watching a controller review right now. Instead of responding to dozens of comments requests for the same controller review, directing them to the written post from a couple months ago where I stated, I'm not reviewing controllers right now. I personally started gaming again recently and using controllers as an input, mouse and keyboard. I actually have like 3 mice sitting over here for some reason. But when I'm not using mouse and keyboard, which I do a lot when I'm on PC, for the casual console experience, and then on PC sometimes a controller, and generally when I'm getting a ton of requests for a controller, it's for a reason. It's either good, interesting, or people are just really curious. It's the latter on this particular controller. It's just curiosity, which is killing the cats out there. To save you a little bit of time, kind of the bluff bottom line up front here, verdict up front, just so you don't have to watch the whole video if you don't want to. It's extremely similar to the PlayStation 4 Nacon controller called the Revolution, which I reviewed 4 years ago, and very, very similar to the PlayStation 5 offering, with the exception of the fact it has a screen, which is a very nice feature, very fluid, smooth, easy to navigate, and does make binding things on the fly very quick. But fact of the matter is, I bought this controller with my own hard-earned shekels. You can buy it on the Nacon website, obviously. It has been in and out of stock. I would recommend getting it on Amazon. It does not have Prime shipping available. You are going to have to wait at least a week and a half when ordering through Amazon as of now. But having that third-party layer of customer support with the vendor Amazon is a nice touch. That's the link that's in the description below. All the footage of me whipping around on machines is from my second YouTube channel, Humble Garage. Subtle reminder to go outside, touch grass, let the sun bake your skin a little bit, or grab your BMX bike, grab a helmet, and go grab some good times. So over here on the help if you share your screen so your audience can see what you're looking at. There's, sir, $200 US, the most expensive flagship controller currently, and that is tied with the Revolution 5, which is the wireless PlayStation 5 Pro controller that I have previously reviewed. That is going to be linked in the description below, because this controller is very similar that we're reviewing here today, except it is for the Xbox platform. It does have higher reviews on their website, although it is severely less reviews. So tons of search engine optimization here with keywords that don't really mean a whole hell of a lot to the actual key specifications, the tech specs of the controller, but my god, do they sound good, right? Rack up your kills in battle royale and first-person shooter games and stay at the heart of the action in your action or racing games. Who typed that, and why are they still working? Stay at the heart of the action, in your action, or racing games. That sounds like a bad sentence. Why this controller is gaining a whole lot of hoopla, a whole lot of traction, is I do believe a lot of individuals think this is the first controller from Nacon you can use on Xbox. That's not the case. It is the first wireless joint from them, but you could have been using the rig joints, the mini, the compact mini, and the big brother that I reviewed previously if you didn't mind going wired. But the tech specs, what makes this controller special? Well, you've got instant triggers that are clicky joints. We'll talk about them later. You do have 6 additional buttons that can be bound to PC functionality, but only with the PC software. You do have an LCD screen, very similar to what you see with the Turtle Beach Stealth Ultra or the Mamba 1, letting you do button mapping, control of your thumbsticks, your audio mix for the 3.5mm jack. You do have Hall Effect thumbstick modules. You do have 2 modes of connectivity. Technically 3 because every controller can go wired, tethered with a USB-C cable, but you have 2.4G dongle and Bluetooth. Does not say what Bluetooth technology they're using. Just like the previous Nacon controllers, you do have 3 sets of weights, 6 joystick heads, 2 Dpad storage cases, 4 joystick rings, which are the little shaft rings. And it's this is actually silly. More than 60 customization options with this D-pad on here, and that's calibration 47 according to Nacon, who's just being silly right now. Possibility to import up to 4 custom profiles per platform and program the 6 shortcut keys via a customization application that is on PC and the Xbox console. We'll tour it on both. You do have vibration, that is typical rumble force motors in the palms, and then some smaller impulse motors in the triggers. And then in high performance PC mode, which sounds cool, you do have your latency reduced to 1 millisecond with a wired connection and 2 milliseconds with a wireless connection. So both of those are respectable numbers in my personal opinion. You do have gyro scum. That is when you use gyro and you become Forrest Gump. Jenny, my aim is good. I thought this was really weird, not only on the manufacturer's website, but also on Amazon. One of the things they're touting as a key feature is that they have 10 plus hours of battery life. That's not good at all. In fact, that's actually substantially worse than a pack of AA batteries in a regular Xbox controller. But you do have a charging dock, which is good because 10 hours, best case scenario battery life. If you have the RGB on and the screen at maximum brightness and the vibration motors doing the Lord's work, it's gonna drain quicker than that. But along those lines, you do have a charging dock, and I would recommend just chucking it on there for a charge so it's ready your next session.
Is that all of them, huh?
As for the packaging and included accessories, of course you are going to have a subscription to Game Pass Ultimate, as this is a licensed Xbox controller that is more expensive than a standard joint. Actually, I think you get a trial with even a regular controller, but this is a month, as where you get a 7-day trial with a stock or sucker, spin it around on backside. That is your code, my friend. First one of you to dial that in is doing some Game Pass to the nostrils. Instruction manual, pamphlet, brochure. Sure, it opens up like an accordion and it's there for you. Color pictures, decent font. English is the primary language with some alternatives on the back side. Nice, and it is green to match the color theme of, ooh, gross, a PlayStation back there. There we go, Xbox colors. A precautionary tale before you touch your controller. Update the software in the application. We were already gonna do that. Product support videos if you have issues. A couple more pieces of paper. Safety precautionary tales. Regulatory information. Warranty guide. What's the warranty on this sucker? 1 year in North America. 2 years in the EU and UK. You do have this really nice carrying case. It does have a little bit of give, although I cannot press down. Oh yeah, I can. Yep, there we go. I do believe my microphone was not working and I was talking out of the internal speakers of the iPhone. I could retake my mistake, but I learned a little phrase in the military called if you're wrong, just stay wrong. So I'm gonna stick with that. You do have this carrying case. It does sink in a little bit as you can click in the thumbsticks. Yep, that's me clicking in on the thumbstick. So you don't get the best protection in comparison to a hard clamshell case like what you get with the DualSense Edge, which I like a lot. But you do have this nice gray trim and a metal pull tab. Lift this sucker up. microfiber wiping cloth with a little bit of matte black branding, a little bit of rice paper. The USB-C cable makes clearance over the thumbstick so it does not cock them at a weird angle. Love to see that. This is a USB-C cable, I would assume, right? Yes, as we are in 2025, it is a USB-C cable. Did you know the Xbox Series consoles don't have a USB-C port on them? Just a USB-A. They need one of these little suckers on there to be convenient. This is a 10-foot braided USB-C cable with a Velcro tie back to keep it all the guts together. Controller looks scratched as shit. It's not. You have a little sticker you need to peel off, buddy. If that was scratched up, then the lawsuit starts. You do also have that charging dock included, I covered during the summary section. I think is great because this only has an estimated 10 hours of battery life, so being able to drop this in a dock at the end of play, great. As for the dock, it does have this rubberized cover, which you are to remove before use. That's unfortunate. Why can't you just keep that on there? This is plastic on plastic with the controller. It would be nicer to drop it onto this rubberized material. Anyway, you have 3 pogo pins, which will make contact with these 3 metal pads on the bottom and start your charging. Okay. Oh, I wasn't seated that last time. There we go. I'd give it about a 6 out of 10 as far as dropping into it and seating correctly each time. Branding is fantastic as it is black, and from certain angles, it's not even noticeable. And then you have your USB-C port in the back, a couple of rubberized feet at the bottom, so it doesn't slide around your desk. And you can run the 2.4G dongle in there to save yourself a USB port. Just use the USB-C. As for the included accessories, very similar to the previous Nacon controllers, you do have the weights, which you can pop in the palm grips. These just, can I do it one-handed? Yeah, you could if you were doing the right part of the controller. I was pushing on the front, trying to break it. It's the back here, and then you are able to slip in those mice dumbbells if you want a little bit more heft, weight to your controller. I personally prefer a lighter controller, as I understand that a heavy controller does not equate to having a premium, more chunkily built controller just because it's heavy. We learned that with the Fusion 1 and 2, using fishing weights, some lead sinkers in the palm grips. That controller wasn't built very well at all and had a terrible quality control rep, but was heavy, so people would think, damn, this thing's like a beast. 2.4G dongle, which does have a dust cover, stick of gum looking ass thing. You have a repairing button and a status indicator. You do have 2 included Dpad options. The pre-installed is a hybrid wheel. Definitely more on the side of a wheel than a 4-point, but it is still technically a hybrid, as there is some riblets, some little grip stippling on each one of the 4 points, and it is raised a little bit more in those sections. This is a cool little mold. I just think it's a little slippery, the plastics used, but it does still feel quite nice on the hand, and I prefer this one over the typical 4-point. Thumbstick caps do also pop off. They do lift straight up. They're not threaded or anything like that. Pre-installed, you do have 2 short concaves. Included, you do have 2 short domes, and then 2, these are definitely not high-rise. These are more of like a mid-rise dome, but it's almost flat. Not much of a dome or a peak, an egg on this little dome stick. Very grippy though. Wow, that is awesome. And I love the side section. Not only cosmetically does it look cool, but you get a ton of grip over there. I don't foresee myself using KontrolFreeks on this bad boy, which is good because every variant that I tried felt like it was going to damage these caps because they're so soft and squishy. I gotta say, this is one slick looking controller. It's primarily matte black with this nice rubberized soft touch material, but then you've got lime green color pops aplenty, as it is a licensed Xbox controller, and I think it looks quite stellar. Beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, but I behold a pretty good looking controller. What do you think? As for comfort, at first squeeze, I was thinking this is going to be a pretty damn comfortable controller. It feels pretty much symmetrically very similar to a regular Xbox controller. Then I ran into a couple of issues. You do feel this seam or crease here and here, a problem that would have been remedied by not having the removable weights, which I think they should do a little survey or poll and see how many of their customers actually like that feature or are using it. I think they could probably save a little bit of money by just foregoing that feature that not too many people give a shit about. And it would also make the controller structurally feel better. Whoop, there we go. Because you wouldn't have this section which makes the controller feel a little bit more creaky and moany groany than it needs to, because it's not really a 1 or 2 piece controller. It's more of like it's got extra pieces now. Along those lines, these rubberized grips here and here feel phenomenal, but then you do have slick plastic right here. So it would have been cool if the rubberized grips would have continued on. And what really, this is my biggest complaint. There's 2 of them. I'm about to rattle off back to back. You're feeling 3 different materials on your hand when you wrap it around. You feel this nice, soft, supple rubber, then plastic, and then a kind of soft touch rubberized plastic here. So squishy rubber, kind of matte black material, and then straight up
cheap, flimsy plastics. And there's also a weird bulge right here. You're looking at my bulge right now, sweetheart. See how it's bulbous? It kind of humps out instead of tapering down like a typical palm grip. I don't know if that's because of the additional storage space needed for those dumbbells or what, but I do know that this is not the most comfortable controller I've ever felt. 7 out of 10.
As for perceived build quality, I just kind of laid into it a little bit, but I do feel like if these addable weights were removed from the equation, it would make the controller feel a whole heck of a lot better. But no weird panel gaps where any of the pieces come together. I will say I do believe this faceplate is going to wear down pretty quickly just from normal wear and tear, general usage. So as far as perceived build quality, nothing really raises an eyebrow here, but this is a brand new controller in the lineup from Nacon. I'll be sure to keep you apprised in the long run. As for the D-pad, it is an 8-way micro switch. You do have 8 distinct gates that you will drop into, which is fantastic. Also a perfect amount of resistance, a little on the light side, but I would say perfect for fighting games, or if you're a quick menu navigator, really likes to fiddle through a D-pad. This feels phenomenal, honestly. One of the best D-pads I've used in a good long while. Personal preference, but I did prefer the hybrid wheel. No complaints with the D-pad. I didn't see a tap life cycle or anything, but these should last. The face or action buttons are large. In fact, I would say damn near oversized. They are a little bit flatter than typical Xbox buttons, which I prefer the flatter buttons of PlayStation controllers than the rounded domes of Xbox controllers. I can mollywop all 4 buttons with just my thumb. They're pretty close and cramped together, but good resistance, nice little snapback or rebound. These feel phenomenal. The only thing that's a little bit weird is B really does wrap around, kind of bend around the side of the controller, which takes some getting used to hitting that button. No complaints here, and I have all 4 of those bound to the rear buttons anyway. The screen tour is going to be its own section in the next part of the video, but I do want to cover the accessory buttons. I am a big fan. It does have a 3.5mm headphone jack and a mute button right next to it, which I like. It's not just flush with the rear shell, it's sunk in it a little bit, so you got to make sure that you did want to save that gameplay clip. A nice large Xbox Jewel front dead center. This is the typical Jewel that's been used in PDP and Power A controllers and a ton of generic nameless gameless pads throughout the years. These things are dime a dozen and in so many little cheapo controllers, but hey, it's just an Xbox button to turn your thing on. It's fine. As for pause and options, or options and select, start and select, I play so many different damn platforms, I can't even keep track of these accessory buttons. You know what it is. And what it is 2 buttons that feel pretty darn good. A big complaint of mine on previous Nacon controllers that transfers over to the newest variant is all these additional accessory buttons, because there are controllers out there that can do everything this controller can with a PCB smart enough to know what you're trying to do, what devices you're plugged into. New one added to this specific model, something that I've never once heard requested or asked for, complained about. This is a lockout button for these 3 accessory buttons. So if you're spamming the Xbox button or one of these buttons and it's not working, you probably had them locked out up here. These are never really at risk of being hit in gameplay because of where they are and how tiny these ones are. This fidget spinner looking button is mandatory because it is control for your screen. However, if this was a touch screen, that would have been sick, or they could have put this at the bottom right next to your mic mute. But you've got a profile switch button to swap between the 8 onboard profiles that you can set up. Then you have a 3-way toggle in the middle going between wired, which kind of works like a power button as it does cut power to the battery. So unless you're plugged in, it'll turn your controller off. Middle is going to be Bluetooth, which this does have headset Bluetooth and then also Bluetooth connectivity. And then this is for the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which is going to be my recommendation if you do want to go wireless, as that will give you the best consistency and speeds at 2 milliseconds when you are in PC mode. As for the screen tour, in order to do anything on the screen, it's not a touch screen or anything like that. Use this button on the top to initiate the menu, and then use the D-pad to navigate. The analog stick, thumbstick doesn't do anything. A to confirm, B to go back. In audio, you do have your volume for the 3.5mm jack. Gain is out of your microphone, so how loud you are. Chat game mix in case your headset doesn't have a slider, a rolly slider for that. If you have a Bluetooth device connected, your adjustments will be there. You do have control of the left and right joysticks, or you can invert both of them together. Selecting the right over here, you'll see you have the response curve, and I do indeed prefer linear, so I'm going to select that with a dead zone of, knock it down, 0. And then if I have any drift in game, I'll bump it up to 1, 2, so on and so forth, but 0 shall be good to go. And then in special, you do have 3 special functions: Shooter Pro Mode, Sensitivity Plus. I've heard that Sensitivity Plus knocks down your dead zones, but with the recent update, I didn't need to do this, and I already had taught reactive 0 dead zones. So Sensitivity Plus, it sounds like it would increase or plus your sensitivity. I'm just spitballing here. In button mapping, this is where you are going to map rear and the additional top bad boys. They are labeled as shortcut buttons. So shortcut 1 and how you know which one it is. They're physically labeled S1, S2. It's dark in here. Can't really see it very good, but you're gonna have to take Scout's Honor on it. Each button says S1 through 4. That's your shortcut button. And you can bind it right here. And then in settings, you do have Bluetooth, which is just for audio if you want to Bluetooth a headset, which is a very useful feature, but this does also have Bluetooth connectivity as well. In order to do that, you're gonna toggle the slider in the back into Bluetooth mode and then pop this thing into discoverable right over here in pairing. But right now it'll say dongle, it comes pre-paired out of the box, and then Bluetooth over here. The main way to do Bluetooth is by turning it on through the toggle and then doing this. Vibration, you do have control of the palms and the impulse triggers. And then battery saving, you do have an eco mode that will dim your screen and the RGB lighting. Taking a look at these thumbstacks, stacks. Yeah, how do they stack up? These thumbsticks in Gamepad Tester, this is prior to any initial updates. They are snapping back to a perfect resting value. So there's no out of the box stick drift, which you wouldn't assume, but they're also super buttery smooth and responsive. How about the circularity test, baby? Give it to me one time. You're doing me raw and dirty. It's the way I like it. I was hanging out with some old wives and they told me a tale, one of these old wives' tales, that this controller has the best stick resolution, the most accurate sticks for Xbox at pretty much any platform, period. What if I were to give you both the red and blue pill, having you pop them both, turning it into a green in your tummy, and you go full Matrix mode? The modules have a different SKU, most likely for replacement purposes, but they are physically identical in functionality, build. With recent updates for both of those controllers, they perform the same. They are calibrated, handled by software the same. As for the bumpers, you gonna be bumping people off with these things? Yeah, they're pretty nice actually. You can either use the meat or the tip of your finger. There is no dots or stippling, which they are on the triggers, and it makes a nice notable difference. You don't slide off because of that. They should have extended that on here to the bumpers, but they do feel good. They are also some of the quietest mechanical switches on the controller, and you don't really have a big difference in required force from here to here. 9 out of 10. As for the triggers, you do have an on-off system that can be engaged and disengaged on the fly without turning the controller around, although not very easily. You do need to push in and then down or up to engage or disengage. Up is going to be with the trigger lock system on. Turns it into a nice mouse click, good resistance. Not very loud either. These are phenomenal. Speaking of phenomenal, Nacon's taken a page out of Razer's book with these additional bumpers, and that's always been a feature I've enjoyed, and that doesn't stop. The only thing is these are flat and they kind of are harder to hit. They're there when you need them. I feel like Razer has struck a perfect balance of those extra bumpers being out of the way when you don't want to hit them, but there when you need them. As with these, you got to work for them a little bit more. There was no situations where I wanted them and didn't hit them, but they just don't feel quite as assured for you as those Razer buttons. These do seem to have less range of motion or travel than a typical Xbox controller. Nice linear resistance. It doesn't change at all. The resistance required. Why I'm giving you all this detail is for racing games. If you're not using some kind of a simulator setup, you're playing racing games with a controller, you're not going to have much throttle and brake control with this controller. A cheaper and better option for you, in my personal opinion, that I'm going to drop here would be the Forza controller from Thrustmaster. As for the rear buttons, this has got to be one of my most pleasurable spots of this controller that I tickled the most, but it is not perfect, and I'm going to get the main one, right out of the way immediately. These bottom 2 buttons are coated in the rubberized material, and then these top 2 are a slick plastic. Also, these inner buttons, I'm going to deem an L. Not quite a capital L, but just kind of it is an L for sure. A definite loss for Nacon, as these should be sculpted in to the rear shell much more flush. These stick out in a very abnormal way that does cut into comfort negatively. If these inner buttons were coated in the same rubberized material and flush with the rear shell, that would have given you an extra point here, giving you 8 instead of 7. You can rebind these on the fly, which is fantastic, and the top 2 buttons. Yet in the software, you are going to come over here to this crazy URL. How did I get here? Come over here to support and downloads, click on Windows. This is the bottom of the landing page for the controller itself, and that is going to take you right here. It's going to show you all their apps available. The Pro Compact and RevX I have reviewed, and these are the software suites that got tours during the software section, I'm assuming. The Revolution X is the controller that we're downloading. You have to download this through the Microsoft Store. Hey, oh shit, I can already tell I'm gonna like this. I touched on it briefly during the accessory button suite, but man, it ain't very sweet. There is a ton of toggles and dials on the back of this controller. In order to work it on PC, you're gonna go into wired mode, you're gonna go into asshole, you're gonna connect it via USB-C cable, press down the Xbox button 3 seconds on the top to select Xbox mode. Why the shit is this so complicated? It's tethering to a PC. It literally should be plug and play. It's kind of a two-step process. The RGB wheel has changed to purple around the right thumbstick. We are in customization mode, and this is controllable, the D-pad, the thumbstick, or your mouse. There is that initial update, which you should do. I'm gonna plug the dongle in as there's probably an update for that as well. I just want to let you know that this is taking for fucking ever. Sweetheart? There we go. So I'll take partial responsibility as it is partial operator error because this PC used to be connected to Ethernet as it was my primary PC. It's now technically my secondary PC as the one connected to the racing sim needed the 4090 more than this gaming PC because it's pushing triple 4K monitors at 120 hertz in most sims while screen recording gameplay. It's a one computer setup, a one rig beast, so to speak. But this PC is now using Wi-Fi and it had one bar because I didn't have the little antenna connected in the back of the motherboard I/O. It is connected now and I have full bars here, but it is still trickling on this update process. So a big and important update in this video to the update process. It was stuck, hung up at 46 percentile. So percentile, I like that. That is the official. Anyway, I unplugged it, replugged it, and it said on the LCD screen, update failed, please try again. The controller was pretty much non-responsive. I also tried to hit the reset button with a sim popper tool, or you can use a needle if you're a sewer. Hit that little button, it did nothing. It's so far recessed in there that I went in to the other side of the shell and did not hit any reset button in there. It's like the hole's drilled out for a reset, but there was no button to actually hit. I just fiddled and fumbled with so many button combos on it, and finally it kind of realized where it was. But now I have full bars on my Wi-Fi, which gets about, on Wi-Fi, 600 down and 100 up, and then on Ethernet, 1000 down and like 500 up. And it's still going very slow, and you have to keep in mind that if you accidentally close this application, your PC were to restart for an update or something, or you tripped over the cord and unplugged the controller, your controller is going to be bricked. And if you weren't lucky like me, I can't even tell you exactly what I did on it to get it up and running again, then you're out of controller. So this is something that I hope Nacon smooths out. The updates happen much faster. I understand this is the first update, probably is a lot of info that needs packed in the controller or something. I don't know. This is taking forever. My fingers smell like new controller. I love that. The update is finally done, but we're not really done. You got some old steps down here. Oh, that's cool. So the dongle was just naturally up to date and I plugged it in. Why the hell's the controller not doing it? There she is. No. Okay, I guess I had to close it, relaunch it. What? Somebody make sense of this sentence for me. Thanks to the NYXI button in order to keep using the app. Who's NYXI? Introduce us so I can shake the hand and get this app up and running for us. All right. Wired, advanced, cable, power, Xbox on the top. There she is. So it now skips over updates as I am up to date, and it's also grayed out. I cannot click it with the mouse. Now, you do have two different modes of customization. I like this because you have Xbox profiles and PC profiles. And keep in mind, the application is identical on the Xbox side of the house. I will be overlaying some B-roll of that, showing you that I'm not just full of horse monarchy. You've got some presets right out of the box. I'm just going to select one so I can show you what you can do with this application, which is quite a darn bit. Using the bumpers, you can tab through the tabs, or you can also use the mouse to navigate, which is fast as well. The only thing I do not like about this application is you have to use it full screen. There's no option to minimize it. Yeah, that's fine. Full screen it is. The RGB ring around the right analog stick can be tuned, calibrated. You do have full control for the vibration motors, the ones in the palms, as well as the impulse and the triggers. If you want to go default, hello, you have a visual representation of your equalizer for the 3.5mm headphone jack. To actually make changes to the bands, you do have arrows over here and some presets. Lighting effects, I usually turn the RGB completely off, but it is bright, vibrant, and does have a ton of color control. You can go single mode. Why are you not letting me control, baby? You do have bottom and top dead zone control. You have full control of the left and right thumbsticks. As you can see, I'm doing some weird stuff over here. Selected shaft. I've always been a medium shafter myself. Linear is what I always recommend, linear or default. But if you want, it's personal preference. If you want to have it ramped up or ramped down, like an S curve or something, that's on you, my friend. Mapping is incredibly important. That's how you rebind everything, although you can do all of that from the screen. But what you cannot do is what I'm about to show you, and that is PC customization. So this is probably a feature that a lot of y'all are curious about, and that is Windows specific, PC specific functions that you can bind to the additional buttons. It is a little bit limited as you do not have media keys or being able to launch an application. For example, the IQ software from Scuff for the Envision Pro does let you do a lot more stuff. What you can do is your keyboard functions, so you could set up a hotkey here in a different application like OBS, and that might help you out. First of all, communication speed over here, you do have, this is laid out pretty weird. Whenever you toggle one of these, it detoggles the other ones. Then you've got reactive and normal. Let's test the speeds of all of that. Moving that shaft in a circle, we are going to see 4 milliseconds of input lag or delay. On normal mode, reactive, if I were a betting gal, I was gonna, I would not have won the bet. I was gonna say 2 milliseconds, but it's still at 4. Pop it into high boost mode. There we go. Probably got to hit confirm. There she is. Oh, that's weird. So we're still getting 4 milliseconds. It should be at 1. Also, making new profiles could be a little simpler, you know? It could be. Test area is a fun area. This is going to be a diagnostic tool, which is very useful. As you can see, visual representation of the thumbsticks, triggers as well. The left one is linear and the right one is currently locked off with the trigger lock or stop system. Dpad, all of the face buttons, whatever you have bound the rear buttons to. Beautiful, simply lovely. In PC mode, when you're not in Xbox, you do have this extra tab called gyroscope. What it's bound to, right stick is usually what that thing is. Actually, no, it's always on. What the fuck? And you can also set up dead zones, which is awesome. So the software is totally functional, but there were a couple of weird quirks that I dealt with mostly off camera because they were very time consuming, where I couldn't figure out what the F is going on. I almost used a profanity word. I didn't share that stress with you, but what I will do is dock 2 points off of the top of what I was going to give this app for its functionality. So a 6 out of 10 for this application in its current state, but I'm sure it will get better with patches and updates. It's finicky now. As for battery life, the manufacturer does claim 10 plus hours. Anything above 10, so 500 hours, it's not. 10 to 12 is the maximum that you're going to get. RGB off, vibration off, screen off. And then as far as charging, I was a little let down by this. The dock doesn't do any kind of fast charging. It takes about 7 hours to go from depleted to full, and it takes 3 hours by plugging in, which isn't fast charging either. That's just standard. So I was actually unable to get to the advertised 1 milliseconds of input lag or delay. So anybody in the comment section that's got it working, just let me know what you did so I can get my PC speeds down to the manufacturer's advertised specifications. Although, to be honest, I'm not really sweating it too hard because other than the review, just being able to show everyone that's interested, hey, this controller does hit the manufacturer's claim of 1 millisecond of input lag or delay on 1000 hertz. Other than that, 99% of the time going to be using this particular controller on Xbox Series consoles, as I personally really do like the Scuff Envision for PC. I made a video on that controller recently. It's only for PC, and I like it a lot for PC. I was in Xbox mode, which has it capped at the console specifications of 4 milliseconds, but when you switch it into PC mode, which is that button on the top, using the dongle, you will get 2 seconds, and then going wired, you will get 1 millisecond. So that's the trick right there. So as for the pros, cons, and verdict, there's definitely some cons to this controller that I think are going to be deal breakers for a lot of people, or if not deal breakers, you're going to pick up this controller and there are little quality of life things that are going to be pinching you, irritating you. The app is not great on the Xbox and the PC. The core functionality is there. Anything that you're going to want to do on your controller adjustment wise, you can do. If you were to accidentally come untethered during that initial update process, you could brick your controller. I had mine temporarily bricked until I stroked her correctly with the right combo of buttons, which I don't even know what it was, and she woke back up. But the rear buttons, which is a huge thing, a huge segment, are not the best because the 2 inner buttons are not flush with the rear shell, and they're also a little bit shorter than they should be. So if you have larger fingers, they just don't really rest nicely. And as far as comfort goes, having 3 different materials around the palm grip and a little crease or seam that you feel because because Nacon feels the need to have that little panel with the optional weights that does cut into comfort and also the structural integrity. It's a little bit more creaky of a controller because it has 2 removable doors in the palm grips. Maybe do a little poll and see how many customers actually want those weights. I couldn't get this working with any converters or adapters. I tried several off camera for the Switch, but the console that y'all probably care about the most, the PS5, I used the Brook Adapters FGC2 wired and with the dongle. The FGC2 doesn't really do Bluetooth discoverable mode. When you pinch the sides of it, it doesn't flash. But the old school XE2, which was my previous recommendation for using other platform controllers on PlayStation, does have a Bluetooth mode, and that couldn't work either. So I was really defunkified in my brain that this controller, I couldn't get it working at all on any other consoles. So that is a big letdown. This controller is a decent combo with your console, but honestly, I do believe there are better Xbox controllers out there, and I'm going to give you a couple of options. The Razer Wolverine V3 is simply stellar. The Stealth Ultra from Turtle Beach has gone on sale. I have gotten a little bit lucky with mine, but also it's not really luck. I haven't really been using the Stealth Ultra that much. I pounded and punished it with about 80 to 100 hours of stick time right out the gate, and then so many other gamepads for Xbox came out that I started swapping to those ladies, and she dried up and got all crusty over shoulder. A good controller if you like a nice screen like this has to navigate. You can do a lot more with the screen in the Stealth Ultra, as it has third-party app support for Ring security notifications and medical devices and all kinds of crazy stuff. Having said that, if you've got a great run of luck with controllers lasting for you, the Elite 2 is always a fun controller to use on an Xbox. The Scuf Instinct Pro is a primal beast that I've reviewed. There's 2 Hex Xbox variants that I really enjoy as well. All of these I would rank above the Nacon Revolution here. It's not bad, it's just outclassed in the price point by a lot of other controllers, in my personal opinion. That's the period at the end of the sentence there, in my personal opinion. So that's a pretty nice way of me saying there's probably not going to be any follow-up content on this controller unless there's some crazy update that comes out where it has a freak feature none of us expected, where all of a sudden the screen can display 4K resolution GIFs or something. I don't know. There's nothing that would really make me want to talk about this controller again on the channel. This is a pretty long review. I've touched on every spot, slot, and crevice that she had.